just prototypes and we are still searching how or looking for the best way to enable developers and designers for creating tomorrow's websites using HTML5 and JavaScript libraries. So there is a feature in CSS3 of HTML5 called media queries, and basically this feature allows you to create a website or a page and then to link to this page different CSS styles, and the browser will pick automatically the right CSS file to apply based on the screen resolution. So you can say something like for screens bigger than 1024, I want to use this CSS file. For screens between, I don't know, maybe 640 and 1024, I want to use this CSS file. And for screens more than 640, like smartphones, I want the third CSS file. And if you go to our website for developers, Adobe Developer Connection, on a desktop with a big resolution, like 1600 I think is here, you'll see this layout, 3 columns and a lot of information. Now, if you go to the same web address, so not to a mobile version of our website, on an Android, this is what you will see. And again, it's the same HTML. The only difference is that the browser picks up a different CSS file. Now, in order to make easy for designers and developers to use this HTML5 feature, we created a new feature inside of Dreamweaver CS5, our tool for developing websites, and it's called multiscreen. And once you press on the multiscreen button, you'll see this view where you have a way to link each one of the panels to a different CSS file. And you can also see in real time what is happening with the page when you apply that different CSS. And you can set the resolution for each one and so on. So this is available today and you can test it. Another cool thing we have for helping people to work with HTML and HTML5, it's a service called Net Averages. And I'm going to move directly to my browser to show you the service live right here. So once again, the service name is Net Averages. It's available at netaverages.adobe.com. And what you can see here, it's basically information about what are the browsers used out there by people, what are the HTML5 penetration rates. Like, for example, if I choose, I'm already choose HTML, I can see, for example, that media queries, this one, has a penetration rate about 24%, and it's supported by Chrome, Mozilla Firefox 3.5 or newer, and Safari. Internet 6, 7, 8, and Mozilla Firefox 3 doesn't support media queries, okay? And I can do more things like maybe I want to start using a certain feature once the threshold passes, I don't know, 80% of penetration or 90%. And I can do this being very easily. So for example, I can subscribe to an email alert, and I can raise the bar, as I said, I don't know, 80%. And once the penetration rate reaches that point, I will get a notification, and maybe I can start using in my projects. How do you know all this data? We have a service at Adobe called Site Catalyst. This is an enterprise level of a service for websites tracking and analytics. It is used all over the world by big companies. One of them is adobe.com. And basically we are aggregating anonymous data. So whenever you are going to adobe.com, we are saving anonymous data, like what browser you used for seeing our web pages. And because we are this service is used by big companies, we are pretty sure that these data are actually relevant, okay? Are quite okay. Let's talk about Edge. Edge is the code name for a prototype tool we are working on in order to understand how to create a tool for designers who want to create animations using HTML and not Flash. And basically, this tool uses the WebKit engine in order to provide the designer with the real view of the current HTML page he is working on. And then you have a timeline here. It looks, if you want, a little bit with the timeline you get in Flash Professional, because it is a tool for animating, okay? And when you do animations, you need a timeline. And then over here, you have a panel where you find all the elements you define in your page. Images, tables, and so on. And you can start drag the elements from the panel to the timeline in order to create an animation, and you can even refine your animation by carefully choreographing the order of the elements being animated. Like, first I want to have the picture sliding in from the right, and then I want to have the text, and so on. So you can change the order. And basically these tools outputs HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. The JavaScript itself actually uses jQuery. Okay. This is another thing we announced at Max. We had the founder of jQuery, John Rezik, on stage with our CTO, and we announced a partnership between Adobe and jQuery. Basically, we will provide code, we will contribute to the jQuery in order to make easier things like this, animations and effects and things like this. So more will come in the future on this front from Adobe. And I'm being told that I'm running late. So the last thing I want to show you is something really cool. So far, I show you what is possible doing with some of the HTML features already implemented, or if you are adding to these features some magic in the form of jQuery, okay? What I have here, it's an HTML page rendered on an Android device using a special WebKit. So what we've done, it was to take the WebKit, which is open source, we modify the WebKit to add new CSS properties in order to be able to render the text in arbitrary shapes. Like here, you can see there are two columns, okay? We enable the concept of columns in WebKit. And also we enable a way by using these new CSS properties to tell the browser to wrap the text around this arbitrary shape. And I have this application on my mobile, and I want to show you. I will use a Java library from the Android SDK to capture my phone screen. We don't have a separate camera. So let's see if it works. Come on. Okay. The only downside using this screen capture is that the Java library is able to capture only 2 frames a second, so you won't see in real time what I'm doing here. And if I move to the second page, yeah, it's awful like this, so I'm gonna do like this. So I have this guy over here, and as I move, all the text is wrapped dynamically around him, okay? And if I move here, you can see I have 3 columns, okay? 1, 2, 3. If I change the screen orientation and go back to that page, I have only 2 columns. And this is done automatically by the browser using HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. And the last part, it's even a cooler demo with a nice giraffe. And I will go in the back to see it. How the text is wrapped. Okay? You can come with me during the breaks and we can... Now, the cool thing about this is that we are working with partners like Google in order to contribute this code back to the WebKit, and we are hoping that others will join. Because as you know, Adobe doesn't have his own browser. On stuff like this, we are really relying on our partners like Mozilla, Safari, Google, and so on to work with us and enable this kind of features as a native support of the browser. And with that, I finish my presentation. I apologize for running late.